What's up guys? Today I'm going to teach you how to be good at Yu-Gi-Oh! So let's go. So how do we define being good at Yu-Gi-Oh? So I think Yu-Gi-Oh is a game with a lot of variance. So there are a lot of things that can go against your favor that you have no control over. But what I recognize is that the good players are the ones who manipulate elements that are within their control in order to have greater winning chances. So anyone who makes excuses like I bricked, you sacked, they're just bad players, and you shouldn't listen to them. Except me, I'm a very bad player, but you should listen to me, and you should also like and subscribe, or else I will not end that sentence. Anyways, let's go on. Okay, so here are the 5 things that in my opinion you can control. So I believe deck building, technical play, and metagaming are the most fundamental ones, and I think you should also, if you want to be some of the best players, you've got to look at mind games as well as mental state. So let's start with deck building. So deck building, I'm not going to cover in its entirety, but I'm just going to go on an overview of the basics. So firstly, play good cards, play good archetypes. This is very obvious. The spicier your deck is, the worse it is. Usually, if you win an event with a spicy deck, then you are a genius. But the amount of people who join events with spicy decks and go absolutely nowhere is unsurmountable. Whatever that word means. I'm just making up words now. Anyways, moving on. Another thing to do is to understand ratios. If you're playing a deck with a lot of 2-ofs, you're probably crazy. I would recommend not doing that. I'd recommend thinking very carefully about each card in your deck and how many copies you want to see of that card or cards that fulfill a certain role. And finally, the most important aspect of deck building is robbery. Stealing other people's decks is the key to winning, because then other people do 90% of the work for you, and you just have to figure out how to tailor it for the metagame, or if the deck's really bad, make it better. So here are 2 resources I've plugged for this. Format Library, I quite enjoy playing retro formats. It's very good for retro formats. And then Yugioh Pro deck is terrible to navigate, but it's got some okay current resources compared to like the rest of the internet. Next up, technical play. So technical play is a very hard one to define. Good players will often just tell you to get good, or ask you to pay them for coaching. Please don't pay people for coaching. Just you can learn by yourself if you really care. And you can like and subscribe, and I will upload more videos that can coach you for free. I know. So I'd recommend understanding card sequencing. So just play a deck, get very familiar with it, and start to ask yourself, which card should I play first in my hand? When should I play a card rather than when should I hold it? All these sort of questions. And I recommend just playing one deck to begin with and getting very used to that one deck so you can start to understand the nuances of the game a little bit more. And then you can start to understand how that deck interacts with other decks, to where some cards are better in some matchups than others, as well as what cards are best to start off with, to follow up with, etc. And finally, the best way to improve your technical play is to play a lot of games. So Dueling Book, in my opinion, is the best resource for this, but also I don't mind playing Dueling Nexus for several reasons. Mainly that no one cares about Dueling Nexus, so it can lose as quickly as possible and nobody will care. Losing gives you as much experience as winning, so don't be afraid to lose. Make sure that if your ego is extremely fragile, and I know this applies for a lot of you because Yu-Gi-Oh players are the most sensitive people on the planet, to create alt accounts with different names, so when you lose, nobody knows it was you. And then when you win, you can retroactively claim it was you. Alright, next up, metagaming. Now, I have stolen these thumbnails unashamedly from Lithian 2300, but that's only because they're really good, so yeah. My advice for this, and I will admit that I'm kind of quite bad at metagaming, I'd say it's my biggest weakness, is to just watch a lot of YouTube. Just keep up with who's playing what. Just watch replays, watch live duels, look up deck profiles. Just see what people are playing, what end boards they make, how they are sequencing their cards to play into the metagame. Just take note of all these things in order to best maximize your chances of winning. And now, something that I'm not really sure how much of an effect it has on your ability to win, but I very much enjoy it, are mind games. And I've also included making reads onto this, because trying to make reads involves not playing into your opponent's mind games as they are trying to telegraph information. So each action in the game telegraphs a certain bit of information which you should keep track of. This could be considered part of technical play. However, I do want to put a greater emphasis on just the mind game aspect of the game. For example, when your opponent plays cards in a certain way, plays around certain cards, you can start to build a sort of profile for them and figure out in games 2 and 3 if they set a card first versus second. You can start to think, is this the bet card? But you've also got to make sure you don't play into your opponent's mind games. So try and evaluate the skill level of your opponent as well, and how likely they are to perform mind games. One thing that I very much like to do is to notice what cards my opponents play around and they're scared of, and then try and play in a way or act in a way to indicate that I have those cards in order to scare my opponent into making suboptimal plays. If your opponent's playing a deck that can die to Nibiru, or make an end board that is suboptimal, always pretend to have Nibiru. Make sure to hit the tactical shuffle, the tactical think emote, the tactical stare IRL, check your sets, whatever. Just make your opponent double think every single move they make. That's my recommendation. And finally, this is the most important thing: have good mental state. If you are terminally online, if you don't go outside, if you drink Mountain Dew every single day, please get a life. That being said, an alternative to all of this is to like and subscribe, because then you will magically become better at absolutely everything in life. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.